say, a slide agenda, a micro agenda for our design panel. First of all, we're going to make a short introduction. Then we're going to have questions, and then few slides presentation, and then I would say blitz questions. And don't forget to ask your Q&A questions here in the section of the questions. Just to remind you, I'm representing Callies Graph Design also, but I would like to be here as independent moderator, passionate about aviation and design. And I'm going to make a slight introduction of our guest today. So we're going to have Warja Borges from Unique Aircraft. Warja, good morning. Then
hello everybody.
Don't forget to unmute your microphone. Then we have Peter Robson, aircraft interior specialist. Peter, good morning, good afternoon.
Good morning, Yuri.
Then we have Team Callies, co-owner of Callies Graph Design. Good morning to you, team.
Morning, good afternoon, everyone.
And then we have Tobias Labs, executive vice president sales, head of large VIP aircraft of Comlux. Hello, Tobias.
Hello, hi, good to see you.
Thank you so much. Just to introduce the locations, I'm based in Bergamo, Italy. I think Warja in Munich, am I right?
Right now I'm in Italy, close to your place.
Wow, very nice. So next time we're gonna have aperitivo. Then we have Peter. Peter, are you based in Hamburg, if I'm not mistaken?
I am. That's correct, Yuri. I am.
Tobias, based in, where are you right now?
Actually, I'm in Zurich in the office today.
Okay, the locations are different. And I can say team usually based in Düsseldorf, but he is a little bit far from us today. Where are you, team, today?
Yeah, I'm in Indianapolis, so with Comlux, actually.
Wow, so which a coincidence. That, thank you to see you, to host you. And once again, don't forget questions and answers. I think from this point of view, we could feel the benefits of Zoom, because in case we could take some private jets, the cost will be so high, and I guess the organizer will need to raise a lot of sponsorship in order to cover these things. But let's start to have, let's say, one by one questions dedicated to design, and maybe let's Warja start to speak some conversation with you. Could you briefly introduce yourself, please, maybe your company, etc.
Hello, everybody. I'm really happy to be here and to be participating in this interesting conversation. So I'm an interior designer, interior architect, and specifically for aviation since 21 years working in the industry. And my focus is on the big ships, so like the Boeing and Airbus aircraft, where you really can, you do have a nice playground to play with. But of course, any other size of aircraft, I'm here to help and can fulfill your dreams.
I see. Taking into account the event topic, exactly, the Zoom versus business jet, how the current situation has affected your business in terms, or of course recently, in terms of communication with clients, services, client behavior in general?
I mean, in general, it's quite complicated, as for me, so far, the business was very much based on a personal aspect and to meet people, get in contact personally, fly to introduction meetings. And so it was very much on a personal base. Also the network, it was mainly at shows like eBay's or NBAA. So it's a very new situation how to deal with only virtual, right? I mean, it is possible, but it is more effort to get in contact and to get connected and to figure out how to hold your meetings and how to get everything right. I mean, it's a hassle, I have to say. It's not easy. It's not easy.
Okay. Thank you. But it's really a frequent answer, I would say.
Yeah.
And Peter, a question for you: for how long you're working with the, let's say, interior design related topic? I mean, and what is your main focus?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me, Yuri, to this interesting forum. I actually been in the aviation industry for 46 years now. Started when I was 16 as an apprentice with British Airways, did my apprenticeship, and then decided that commercial aviation wasn't really what I wanted to do, and then went off to jet aviation in Basel, and was there for nearly 5 years. And then went to Oman, as most of the people who know me. I've been based in Oman for the last 35 years, up till the beginning of this year. So now based in Hamburg and ready to start a new chapter.
Mm-hmm. Having such a solid experience, I would say, and what are your predictions, for example, for the recovery from this crisis? I know, I guess you had the 9/11 Gulf War crisis, so you may have a good prediction for the future.
Yeah, I think obviously the pandemic has slowed everything down for not only for the aviation industry, but the whole world has come to a slowdown. I presume now that the vaccine is out and we're all being vaccinated slowly but surely, that things will pick up. As the previous discussions said earlier today, I believe that we may see a quick return. It could also be the fact that people have been waiting for the BBJ Max to come back online. Of course, the airlines are getting their share of the aircraft because they've been waiting for quite some time. But I'm sure that I'm hopeful, like most of us are in the aviation industry. We're always optimists and look on the bright side of whatever is thrown at us. We're in the industry of solving problems and finding solutions, and I think it'll come back relatively quickly.
Looks like it's something that simultaneously come back from the normal reality and BBJ Max, I would say.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of. I mean, obviously we just picked the BBJ Max because it obviously has been offline, so to speak, for quite some time now. But then I think everybody within the aviation industry is happy to see Boeing get back on its feet and move forward. Let's hope that it continues.
Thank you very much, Peter. Tim, a question to you. Can you maybe introduce better your bureau and how you're overcoming the Corona times, I would say.
Yeah, thanks, Yuri, for the invitation. I'm quite happy to be here, part of the panel. I myself studied architecture in Germany and got first contact with the aviation world in 2006 with Lufthansa. I got a job there as an interior designer. I was quite amazed because my dream was always to do interior design instead of architecture, but my professors told me to do architecture, you can do. So I'm doing this since more than 15 years now. Worked with Lufthansa. I was head of design for Comlux. Now since 2013, I started my own office design, Callies design. And in 2016, I started joint venture with my student friend and colleague, Graefe. So since 2016, we are Callies Grafe design. And yeah, coming to your question, how did we overcome Corona so far? Fortunately, we are not focused only on design services for the aviation market, but got specialized as well in the high-end real estate market. So because what we recognized even before Corona, that the rich people are investing in real estate, we profited out of it, and we gained even new customers, we get new projects, we are growing at the moment. So from this end, we are in the fortunate situation that Corona did not affect us too much.
Mm-hmm. As you know, basically it's, let's say, a clever approach, like in any industry, you have diversification or diversified portfolio of things, like investment or stuff like that. I see. Tobias,
Right.
a question for you. What challenges and completions of the large cabin aircraft faces today? I mean, from Dzun. I mean, how is possible to complete the right on time aircraft having such heavy limitations? Tobias?
Sorry. Yeah, I think, so from my side, responsible for sales at Comlux and also in the aviation business since more than 20 years, now since more than 6 years at Comlux. So exciting times. And I must say the competition for the large aircraft on Zoom, I don't see it that much. Yes, of course, if there's travel limitations, by making it impossible for people to enter countries, maybe Zoom is an alternative. But people that travel on large aircraft typically are not as much influenced by the question, do I have to have a Zoom call or do I go there in person? They take their decision. And when they do so, they kind of put whatever means in place to make that work. And typically, there's ways of operating those aircraft even in crisis times. There's exceptions that you can have applied for business purposes, and that allows people on the large aircraft to still continue to operate in some cases. In some cases, it's not possible, so then Zoom is an alternative. But typically, there's discussions that are ongoing where people really want to face-to-face contact and still travel on the aircraft.
So that's really good, but sometimes there are some exceptions that it's possible to travel. Moving to design itself, and I would say to the let's say customers, could you, Tobias, provide more, let's say, a general portrait or average portrait of the owners of the wide body aircraft and how differ they are from the owners of global, so Gulfstreams, I would say, smaller birds?
Well, I'm not sure if there's a big difference on some of them. In general, I think people that own business jets are people that have sufficient funds and resources to do so. And sometimes the difference between those two is not that big. But at the same time, people that do have the large aircraft, they're just having the right taste for a good aircraft and the right model. And sometimes their expectations in terms of design and the interior are maybe a bit above the standard, where they're not satisfied with, let's say, a selection of interior variants or materials where they really want the bespoke, customized interior to the last detail. And I think that's when the design studios come in and provide spectacular visions of what you can do in the interior, taking it to the extreme and to things that you haven't seen before. And that's what then makes those aircraft really unique masterpieces and something very, very special to travel on. So that's the one part. And then, of course, there's government entities that just need a larger aircraft because they have larger delegations. Typically, the design there is rather muted, let's say, and more business oriented.
So I would say there are basically, let's say, kind of few kinds of clients. Then that would be, let's say, a governmental one. Okay, we just need to travel from A to B and have ABC on board, and then high net individuals who like to have a really super, I would say, tailor-made solution. I would say. Just one sec, we might have. Let's say maybe if you have some questions, once again, please ask the questions in the Q&A box. So you're welcome. Then actually coming back also to the first panel, but being raised the question about the environment and reduction of, I would say, pollution, etc. Then I think the question to you, team, there is a, let's say, trend for the customers prefer to buy new aircraft and have new design, or there is a trend, for example, they buy pre-owned aircraft and then make an introduction of new design for already pre-owned aircraft. What's in your opinion, let's say, the trend now?
What we recognize at Callies Grafe design, looking at our order numbers in regards to refurbishment designs, we feel that there is a higher demand actually since a couple of years for refurbishments. That's why we at the moment as well try with business partners and friends to develop a program to make it easier for customers to do a refurbishment, because with a second-hand aircraft, let's say, it's very crucial to do a refurbishment within a certain time, because so long as the aircraft is on ground, the more it costs to the customer. So that's actually definitely, I guess, a trend to buy refurbishments. I don't know how long it will last. Like in the first part of the panel, if you listened, it's interesting to see that the customers are even asking now for CO2 free aircrafts, or at least more sufficient aircrafts. I think once the industry answers that, like it's Airbus, Boeing, or the smaller companies like Bombardier, I think the young generations will decide to buy new aircrafts which are more sufficient.
I see. Actually, I know there is one startup in UK, I guess, and they got, I think, absolutely new technology with the aircraft. So, but this is a little bit another topic. Don't touch it. Okay, let's say we discussed a lot about background and so on. Okay, having the design, I would like to make, or customer would like to make the design of the interior. Which aspects, the question to you, team, you have to take into account to, let's say, to make a design of the interior?
I think this question can fill another panel, but to make it short. Yeah, first of all, most important, of course, is to satisfy the customer himself with his demand, what he wants to gain with the design. So questions like how many passengers do we want to carry, depending on the size of the aircraft. Do you want to use it only for private usage, or do you want to charter the aircraft as well? I think that's the most important question, to understand the customer's demands. And then together with the customer or the customer rep, you develop a floor plan, which consider the first meetings with the customer. And when you start to design the furniture, whatever it's requested. But during this design process, you have to consider already all the regulations which are coming in the aviation industry, like EASA, FAA. Every year they are thinking what new rules they can bring up, which makes it more difficult for completion centers and design to develop a nice bespoke design, such as we have to keep in mind how many emergency exits we have to offer in the interior. As well, we have emergency path lines where we are not allowed to be smaller than 20-inch, for example. Talking about weight, of course, the customer has a certain wish where he wants to fly. Let's say like from Moscow to New York. The more heavy the aircraft is, less passengers you can take with them. So the design is as well about weight, because if we put more furniture, the aircraft is getting more heavy. If we are choosing materials like marble or wheel veneer on the floors, it's getting more heavy. As well, we have to keep in mind that we are selecting materials which are not burning. So there are many, many things we have to consider during the design process, which doesn't make it easy, but like Warja will agree, we are both working since many years in the industry. We know about the rules, while other designers are maybe very talented, but we don't know about the rules. So we do nice designs for our customers, but at the end, the completion centers are saying, sorry, it's nice, but we cannot do it because it's not fulfilling the regulations we have on the market.
Yeah, so it's absolutely different world. If someone comes from yacht or his villa, her villa, say, I'd like to make it like in my villa, and by the end of the day, sorry, it's impossible. This is the aircraft.
We wish we would love to do so, but yeah, it's not possible in many cases. Of course, we try from our design side, we try together with the completion center to extend till the borders. And it depends as well to whom you're talking. Each completion center has different solution available. But of course, our aim is to satisfy at the end our customers together with the completion center. So that at the end he has a product he loves to fly with.
I think the aim to satisfy the customers it's all the today's audience who is presented here, and I guess it's a normal trend in the world. But thank you, team. Let's jump maybe from Indianapolis to sunny Italy to Warja. Actually, yeah, the sun is really, it looks like you have a good villa over there. Let's ask the question. Okay, we asked team about, let's say, things you have to consider, but implementing the design, what the crucial stage you have to take into account and highlight to your customer, and how you overcoming with this crucial stage during the COVID, during the Zoom time.
Yeah, during the Zoom time, exactly. So, I mean, as Tim already mentioned, there are a few steps you need to take, and beside of all the technical regulations and informations you need to take into account, yeah, it is very important to define the needs and requirements and the mission of the aircraft with the customer, and then to design an appropriate floor plan configuration to fulfill that. So this is one of the really first very major steps to fix the floor plan and get it right in regards of the weight and balance and all these regulations, but also, of course, in the specific requirements for the customers. When this is set, you go to from 2D to 3D in the room, and start with the design. And personally, I always like to look a little bit on the background of the customer, maybe the region or any traditions or history background, and to implement that a little bit into the design of his aircraft to reflect his personality or whatever. And so this is the next step. And what I normally do is like approaching this with a rendering, 3D rendering, a virtual view of the interior, presented in 3 different color concepts. I'm suggesting with real materials. So now we do have the first problem. How do I present?
Exactly.
when I cannot travel. So, but let's stay on the flow of the main steps on the design. So when the customer has decided on one specific material and color concept he really like and the design concept, then you continue to spread this over the entire aircraft. So the full complete design with elevation package. Elevation means like every wall of the room will be drawn in a computer with measurements, with details for materials, with everything included, and also the materials for the entire aircraft. And then the next step is the PDR. It's a preliminary design review, where you go through all these documents, also from the technical aspects, so with the completion center, to define and make sure that everything is to the customer's expectations, and also fulfill the requirements. And then if there are adjustments, you do have some further time to do though. And then we do have the critical design review, which is like freezing the design. All the documents going to be signed, and then the building starts of the interior with the completion center, and even before the aircraft arrives, which is always a big event when the aircraft arrives at the completion center. So because then you're really going to start to work at the aircraft. It's pretty exciting. Then there are several steps during this phase to make sure that everything is done right and to the quality. And so we are kind of supervising the entire project until the delivery. So how do we deal with the COVID? And how
do you ask someone from completion center, hey, send me the video how the aircraft is landing unless I can see it, and etc.
Well,
via Zoom, it's arriving right now, so that's a point.
Well, you're kind of focusing on the major steps, and not, you don't travel as much as you would normally do, right? And try to cover as much as you can via Zoom or phone calls or emails or whatever. I had to travel to Bordeaux, which is not really far from Munich, and it's normally 4.5 hours because there's no direct flight. Yeah, I think the shortest flight I could get was 9 hours, was a 6 hours layover in Amsterdam. So I was like, well, if I could afford a business jet, I would buy it right away because it was so complicated to travel. Yeah, we didn't even know if we could travel or if the customer could come. So we prepared a second setup where we had everything, like we would have the conference virtual, and prepared like 3 ship sets of the entire presentation, one with me, one in Bordeaux, and one to ship to the customer, so that we would have been able actually to have a meeting and everybody would have had the real documents and the real materials in front of him. Wow. So luckily we could meet, but yeah, that was how we approached it. It was quite an effort and a lot of work.
Well, it's a little bit, it reminds me with one of the conference of Lorna when they distributed the wine bottles for testing, but this is a little bit a different story, I would say. Okay, but I would say, what in case, Warja, still question to you, if you can make a definition, which design and styles are most popular, trending now, and what will be dominated in the next 5 years, in your opinion?
So I think the interior style's getting more and more like a modern contemporary look. It's less shiny, less ornamental. The colors are getting brighter. Interiors, to make the interiors light and airy, less wood. We can see some new surface materials, quite interesting one. There are experiments with like stone flooring, heated stone flooring, wood flooring. So a bit more, to get it a bit more like your home look, you know, instead of having it, yeah, this very typical aircraft look, what you can see in the past, like every furniture is almost wood covered, and then you do have leather seats and a fabric sofa, and that was it. So there's a bit more playing around with on one side, and on the other side, and there OEMs are doing cooperations with car designing and other design to get some other design influences into the interiors. Personally, I'm not so sure about that trend, as well, some people do sit in their car for quite a long time, but most of us not. But in the aircraft, I mean, maybe the customers are using their aircraft for long distance travel. So you're sitting in your seat for 8 to 10 hours, and you always need to take that into account regarding comfort. So I think that's really important, the comfort and the feel and look, how you can influence with your environment, and that's the design in this case, your personal feeling. And I think there's more a trend also to those aspects in design.
I see. Thank you. Tim, question to you. The same. What is the most popular, I would say, and design, and what will be the trend in the next 5 years, I would say, in your opinion?
Well, I guess like Warja already did, we have to differentiate between the customers, because on the one side we have the customers who want a bespoke aircraft, like Tobias already mentioned. We are spending money for a big aircraft like BBJ, Airbus, whatever size. So we design it. It's depending on us what we design. I think in the last years, it was still kind of classic, depending where the customer is coming from. If it's a Middle East customer, it's more Oriental design. Talking about Russian customers, it was very classic, very heavy design with lots of marble and gold. Even with young customers, it's still the trend. So it's really as well on the designer convince his customer to do the design. On the other side, what we feel, what we see on the smaller aircraft like the Global 6500 or 7500, that because Women is working, for example, with BMW design group, that as Mario already mentioned, the design are getting more and more automotive designs. It's not only about the seat design and styling, it's about the integration of the communication system, of the touch screens, etc. It's getting very close to luxury cars. That's the other trend, what I see. But for, let's say, the narrow body and wide body aircraft, it's really on us how we want to design, what the customer likes to see as a bespoke design. Does it have to match his house or his yacht or whatever? So it's on us. But we, from Callies Graefe design at least, we do all the designs, the customer. So we like the challenge. If we want something very classic like Louis Vuitton style, we do it. If you want something futuristic, we are able to do as well. And that's what we like as designers, to challenge, to develop something new for our customers.
In your opinion, the customers, the owners become younger than it was like 10 years ago in the age, in the approach, or not?
I think so. It's it comes as well, not only the older generation, we're getting older, we're dying, and of course new generations are following. No, but if you see customers like Elon Musk, like Peter Zuckerberg, we're coming from a new technology sector, Apple, etc. So yes, I think with new startup companies being very successful on the market, which are mainly started up by young generation, I think it will change as well the business market. That the young generations will take over and ask for new aircrafts.
Thank you. I guess Elon Musk will ask first of all to make it, I would say, electric, and then he's gonna purchase the aircraft, something like that.
Well, there are companies working on it. I have a design friend who is working on an electric aircraft. So
yeah. That's the second topic. And now, question to Peter: from your experience, what is impossible to implement in the aircraft cabin? I would say.
I think the biggest issue or the biggest question that non-aviation people always ask, do the rich and famous have swimming pools, jacuzzis within their aircraft? And of course, those of us that work in aviation know that water is probably the biggest bane of any cabin interior, whether it's the additional bidets or handheld shower sprays you have to do. Every connection is a potential leak, and with carpets which costing virtually a fortune in themselves, hand-carved, handcrafted, water is definitely the biggest problem that we have within. I think every completion center that's ever built an aircraft has always ended up with having to replace a carpet somewhere. Be a bathroom or water is raining down on the passengers from a dishwasher, which is above their head on a 747, for example. And I think water is definitely. Swimming pools I can't see a trend or a need in the future, but you never know. Somebody may prove me wrong, and there will become a virtual swimming pool.
A Zoom one. The question to all of the participants: have you had once a very unusual request to install something that is possible or not possible? They would like to have a piano in the aircraft, or they would like to have, I don't know, some mini golf. Or what is the most unusual request you so far?
Fireplace.
If I remember, I was actually showing my age. Showing my age, I believe. While I was at Jet Aviation in the 80s, there was a 707 flying around with a fireplace.
Really?
It belonged to the Rolling Stones, if I remember correctly, and it was in there.
So there is a precedent, I would say, in this case.
Yeah, but it didn't have an actual fire, but there was a fireplace.
Okay, okay,
I believe.
nice.
It was,
So
what I would say.
we had to certify an exercise bike.
Okay, okay, nice. Tobias, question to you. I would say, do you have owners who changed a few times interior of the same aircraft or not? Have you had such precedent?
Yeah, we see owners that are interested in enhancements. So they have an aircraft, and then at some point they determine that there's actually some different need, and they want to do some adjustments, maybe some color changes on certain areas, some improvement on the IFE technology, fast internet connections. Those are upgrades that are typically requested. The nice thing is we also see owners that have an aircraft and have done an interior with us and now come back with the new generation aircraft and say, like, we want you to do the next interior for this aircraft. And so they're actually staying with us for a second interior or the next interior of the aircraft. And I think the good thing is with aircraft owners becoming younger and younger, they still live to have the second aircraft, because typically those aircraft interiors last for a long time. But with young owners, you can definitely go through 1 or 2 or 3 aircraft, and we'll be happy to build it.
Oh, that's a good a positive potential feedback. But still a question to you, Tobias. How about the depreciation and the cost of such aircraft? You have a lot of investment and so on, but is it like a luxurious cars, but 5 years afterwards price dropped significantly? And how I would say difficult to resell it in the market afterwards?
I think the positive news is that there is, even though there is depreciation, it seems that on the large aircraft it is less than on a typical business jet aircraft. There's some study from Merrill Lynch where they have looked at that over some period of time, and they found that actually depreciation on the large VIP aircraft is about half as much as it is on traditional business jets. So it seems that even though the investment is high at the beginning, at least the aircraft maintain their value quite good. There is limited aircraft on the market, and if today you would want to buy a pre-owned ACJ or BBJ, there's very, very few on the market, and in particular, very few young ones on the market. So that just shows that those aircraft are maintaining their value good. And if there's somebody wanting to sell it, you could sell it now easily. We are looking for aircraft that we could sell.
You are welcome to sell, I would say. Thank you. Now there are a few slides to share, if you permit me to do so, with our audience to just 1 sec. I would say with a slideshow, okay, with our audience. Basically, just a few ones. This is a few ones from the interiors by Comlux completion, just quickly for your, I would say, better understanding. Then we go into the next one. This is, I guess, is it 220? Am I right?
Exactly. That's a very nice example of an aircraft that is now latest generation, and we are talking about efficiency and environmental footprint. This is an aircraft that actually, despite of being significantly bigger than a business jet, is actually consuming less fuel. And is costing less money to operate than a comparable business jet. So it just shows that there is some efficiencies if you go for new aircraft. And of course, on the design side, very modern, can be tailored, and it's going to be a spectacular aircraft.
Then a few slides from unique aircraft, Warja, yours. I guess it's BBJ-1 demonstrator.
Yes, that was the Boeing demonstrator. We won the Art in Aviation Award with it. And it was built to travel with the members of board of Boeing executives, and it's heavily used. It's flying over 1,000 hours a year, which is really a lot for a private jet. And the customer is very, very happy. And yeah. The aircraft's nickname is my baby princess because it was really a special project, I have to say.
Because we're riding a little bit of the time that it's the next one, 350 from yours to introduce to the audience. Then it's, I guess it's Max, 4 seasons with the 2 different types of cabin, am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. Then
Yeah.
team, there is a few slides from yours. Is it 320 Neo sketch?
It's a it's a 320 Neo. Actually, the project why I'm here actually at Comlux in Indianapolis.
Oh,
It's quite exciting to see how it's proceeding.
it's great news. Then
From sketch to real.
another one, as far as I know, this is the refurbished design for the Global Express.
Correct. We did it 2 years ago for a customer in Germany.
And this is something from an architectural style, which is not only the aviation bureau.
No, but it influences, that's what I like, the residential projects are influencing as well as the aviation projects, because you get new ideas by browsing through catalogs, doing designs for real estate projects.
I see. Thank you so much. Just one sec. I just like to stop share my screen. And no. Oops. Okay, stop share my screen. Then blitz questions to all of you. Let's start maybe one by one. Warja, in your, just really quickly, in your predictions, more Zoom or business jet in our life in the next three years?
More business jets, please.
Okay. Team, from your side?
I hope it's a mixture of technical meetings via Zoom, but customer meetings real face-to-face. That's
Peter, your opinion?
Yeah, I think that I agree with Tim. I think that's possibly definitely in the beginning when we're coming out of this pandemic, it'll be a combination of both. Maybe less travel, but a little bit of Zoom. But
Tobias, your
Just come back from a meeting with the client, but there's nothing that will replace that face-to-face situation, sitting around the table, touching the materials, having that fascination in the eyes of the owner when they see some proposals that designers have done that are outstanding. It's just not replaceable, and it will continue and it will come back, and I'm very positive about that.
Okay, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Lorna. Thank you, Alison, for these. We had a lot of more things, but I would conclude it. Let's say there is a nice world. It's rather one time to see, rather 100 times to hear. So I think it's time to move forward. And thank you so much for all our guests, and thank you once again to hang out for this panel and opportunity.
Thank you, Yuri, and thank you all the panel for your great contribution there. So you've given me plenty of inspiration for when I buy my first private jet. So thank you very much for that. Don't hold your breath, having said that.
You will be in the good hands, don't worry.